chemical ingestion. Why not start early? That was the monologue. Just time to announce the results of last week's quiz. We asked, how many troops does it take to storm Benghazi? Bernie from New York answered correctly. None. We've never tried. Congratulations, Bernie. Your Make America Great Britain Again t-shirt is winging its way to you. That's the monologue. See you next week.
Check out Andre's column at townhall.com. Check it out on Twitter at AndreJP.Walker. And read Andre's work here, Behind Enemy Lines. Now back to the show.
Gene Baradelli back behind enemy lines here at CPAC 2016, and I have the privilege of meeting up with an old friend of mine, Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn from the great state of Tennessee. So good to see you again, ma'am. How are you today?
I am doing great and so thrilled to be here.
So for those of us that weren't privileged enough to see you here at CPAC and the great speech that you gave, why don't you tell everybody about what you said to the thousands that were in the crowd today?
Well, my message is this is a great year. It is a year that is an outsider candidate year. It's going to bring change. The people are the teachers this year. They're sending a message to Congress and to the Senate and saying, get your act together. It is about time. And I love the fact that the people are standing up and taking their government back.
It's great to see. Now, last time we spoke was about foreign policy.
Yes.
And now we're looking towards, I guess, a big election year where a lot of issues kind of get overlooked. But tell everybody about the recent committee hearing that you held, the first of many coming down the pipe. Explain to everybody what's going on.
Right. I chair the Select Committee on Infant Lives, and we are looking at the abortion industry and the fetal tissue procurement organizations, that industry, and the business relationship between the two. And there's been concern about the growth in the procurement industry and profiting from the sale of these tissues and body parts. And of course, it is illegal to profit from the sale of body parts in the United States of America, as it is in most of the Western world. So we're doing kind of a deep dive into that. We started our first hearing this week. It's on the bioethics of fetal tissue research.
And in your experience thus far, are you finding that organizations are being more evasive to what the committee is demanding, or are they being cooperative?
Well, there's some of both. I've issued 30 document requests. I had to follow that with 3 subpoenas, one to University of New Mexico, one to STEM Express, and one to Southwest Women's Options. But they received the subpoenas. And we will continue with document requests and, if necessary, subpoenas to get the information.
It sounds great. We'll definitely be following the progress of that. But obviously the big story here at CPAC, a lot of controversy surrounding Donald Trump, and Politico had a story about that. What is your feeling in general about the 2016 presidential election?
I think people are very angry, and it's a righteous anger in my mind. They're justified to be angry because we have not been meeting their expectations. So I think this is a good thing that you have somebody that is raising issues. It's, as I said, an outsider year. I think Trump or Cruz will be the nominee.
Now, not forgetting about that we have congressional elections and Senate elections and the idea of a rising tide lifting all boats. Do you feel like that a Donald Trump at the ticket, or as other radio shows are going on around us, whether a Donald Trump on the ticket or a Ted Cruz on the ticket, will hurt candidates like you or other candidates that are running on the congressional level?
No, it's not going to hurt, because I think what you've seen, look at what is happening with the vote totals. Republican turnout is up everywhere. In the first 4 states, it was up 25%. And then you also look at the Democrat turnout, it was down 26%. So you've got such a wide spread there. We're up, they're down. I tell you what, if Republicans were down 26%, you would have all the mainstream media out there saying, oh my goodness, look at this. You know, their party is imploding. But of course, that's not what's happening.
And the spin is going on the Democratic side because their lack of variety and lack of parity in their campaign pales in comparison to what the Republicans have put forth. And really been a year where you've seen a great variety of candidates and a lot of voices and a lot of opinions out there.
That's right, and that diversity and that big tent serves us very well.
And speaking of a big tent, we all know on the show that money and people is what drives elections. We want to make sure that we can get as much money and people behind you as possible from our show. Tell everybody where they can get a hold of you, where they can donate and get a hold of your social media and all that stuff.
Oh, well, it is MarshaBlackburn.com and Vote Marsha on Twitter and Marsha Blackburn on Facebook.
And on a personal note, the last time we were together was in New York. I'm glad we were here in D.C., but your interview with us was the reason why our show has been growing so much, and we thank you so much for that and all the support you gave us.
Absolutely. Delighted to do it and look forward to being with you again very soon.
And that was Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn from the great state of Tennessee, joining us from CPAC. Another one of the great interviews that we took home with us from that great event.
Another great interview that Gene had me not participate in.
Well, listen, reason. I mean, some of us want to go work and some of us want to go drink. I mean, I'm not going to say who did what, but I think it's obvious. But in all seriousness, well, you were working during CPAC, and you came down for the last night to see everybody and to glad hand and network and all that stuff. And I'm glad that you did, man. I really am. I did all the work, you got all the glory. It works out perfectly for us all the time.
Brian Antico in the chat room. Is SEAL Team Trump going to be a real thing? SEAL Team Trump, I love it. I'm going to start that hashtag. Brian, I'll give you credit.
That's fantastic. Well, listen, it's time once again to play that game we play on the show just about every primary night. And by the way, next week's another primary night for the show. So tune in Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time right here on Spreaker. And you'll hear it, and you can tune in at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. But it's time to play the game we play after every show, and that's Keep 'em or Dump 'em. And I think you know who we're talking about, Russ. Let's start with John Kasich. Should he fold up his tent and go home, or should he keep on plugging away?
I mean, in all honesty, I don't really see a reason for Kasich or Rubio to stay in. So I might as well just...
Okay, so dump them both.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, their only hope at this point is to get to the convention and hope that Trump somehow falls short of the 1,200 and change delegates he needs. If that's their strategy, I don't get how they think they would be the selection of the party.
I think their strategy is that they have to actually win delegates to force that to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
come on now.
The race is over for these guys.
All right, chat room saying dump them as well for both of them. Listen, it's become a zero-sum game for everybody not named Trump at this point. If you think that you are the candidate to get virtually all of the support of everybody else who's out there, then you should stay in. Can John Kasich get all of Ted Cruz's support for him? No. I think the answer there is no. Can Marco Rubio get all of Ted Cruz's support to go to him?
Definitely.
I think the answer is definitely no. Can Ted Cruz get Kasich's people to go to him?
Most of them.
Most of them, but not all of them. Some of them is going to spill over to Trump, and you know what? Some of them are going to stay home. The couch will win. Can he get Rubio's people? I think yes. I think Ted Cruz is the last hope. If you are a Trump denier, if you are a Trump hater, your best hope is Ted Cruz right now because he's the only one that can do it. I'm loving our chat room today. It's real interactive,
and we'll
man.
see, by the way. Like I think that let's call Trump's bluff. Trump has repeatedly said he wants Rubio to drop out, and he thinks it's a two-man race. He just wants to face Cruz one-on-one. Call his bluff. Let's see what happens. Listen, at the end of the day, it's a shame that it went on this long. But if it was just Trump versus Cruz early on, the likelihood is that Cruz would be our nominee. Now it's late in the game. Now, even if Cruz and Trump are the last two men standing after tonight, which it's not likely that that's going to be the outcome, if they were the two last men standing tonight, it's almost impossible mathematically for Cruz to win enough delegates, from now till the end.
But it's a zero-sum game now. You can't hope to get part of the people that come over. You got to get them all. You can't Donald Trump is not broken the 50% mark yet in any of these primary states tonight. That's his downfall right now. That's where he's
Although,
at.
be careful you don't fall into the trap, because what a lot of people have been saying that hate Trump, a lot of people have by the way, excuse me, a lot of people have an irrational hatred of Trump. Much like
absolutely.
the Bush derangement syndrome, there's a Trump derangement syndrome where people have this irrational hatred of Trump. And they'll say things like, well, he's only got 40% of the vote. That means that, 60% of the party is voting against him. Okay. So let's use that. Let's use your logic on that. And I'm not saying Eugene. I'm just saying the person making that.
I see you pointing at me. I was getting nervous.
So then a guy like Marco Rubio, who's getting 8% in a place like Mississippi tonight, dude, that means that 92% of people are voting against you in the Republican primary. So I don't get that logic.
All right. So by that logic, if you're not supporting Vermin Supreme, does that mean that you are against stopping gingivitis? That's your logic right there, isn't it?
Is that a pop culture reference? Because I'm
Vermin
lost
Supreme, man. He's running for president. Where have you been?
I'm gone.
You're gone. All right. Well, you know what? Since you're gone, it's time for some final thoughts. You take yours first, pal.
I have to give credit where credit is due. In this hop-in chat room tonight, Ann Gallo, sister of yours truly, and new contributor to Behind Enemy Lines.
Yes, she doesn't know it yet, though.
She owes us a few articles. She's got to catch up.
50 scalps and at least one blog post.
She brought up a good point that I forgot all about. Mayor de Blasio in New York City.
The People's Republic of New York City.
Republic of, you always have to add that, signed into law that from now on, transgendered people or anyone identifying as any gender they wish without having to show ID will be allowed to use any bathroom in a public place that they wish. So what I started doing was I just started using ladies' rooms. I leave the seats up in all the stalls. I'm having a blast, and they can't do anything about it. Equality, it's a mofo.
Oh, man. How do you top that one?
And that's why Donald Trump is the man, by the way. A lot of people have these thoughts, in their heads, and they're afraid to say things like that or do things like that. Everybody knows that women have it. They cry about a lot of things publicly, okay?
And here it comes. And by the way, all you women out there who want to write to the show and voice their opinion,
women don't have it that damn bad, especially not in the United States of America, right? Your bathroom's always cleaner than ours. People freak out when the toilet seat gets left up. Well, guess what? When the toilet seat is down and we gotta pee, you know what we have to do? We have to touch the toilet seat and lift it up. So if you gotta pee, you gotta touch the toilet seat and put it down. Equal rights is a mofo.
My God.
Welcome aboard.
He is the voice of an angry America, folks. That's Russ Gallo right there. My final thought's going to be a little more poignant because the conservative movement lost a true patriot this past week. You hear me do the plugs all the time, and you hear me talk about Red State Talk Radio. Primo Mondone, the principal of Red State Talk Radio, left us this week. And the movement is poorer for for the loss of him. I'm getting choked up even thinking about it because Primo gave us our shot here on Red State Talk Radio. And we want to wish his family the best and the whole Red State Talk Radio family, of which we are a part of. We are going to be sticking together, and we're going to be continuing Primo's dream of continuing Red State Talk Radio. And I'm so happy that Don and Donna over there are going to be getting help from Scott and Leonora. And for those who don't know what I'm talking about, check out redstatetalkradio.com, and you'll see all the new faces and all the shows there for what's going to be going on there. But the fight goes on, even though we lost a great patriot this week. And again, all the best to the Mondone family and everybody affected by his loss. And now that I brought everybody down, Russ, I guess it's time to shut this thing down as well. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. By the way, check out www.behindmelinesradio.us for all the great interviews that we've done this week. We're going to start uploading them at least once a day, or as much as I can, given my work schedule. We have great interviews with Van Hipp, with Sean McCutcheon, with a whole bunch of great people. And we'll also relay the story about how Sharon Angle got to hang out in our suite and do a little business. There's going to be a lot going on there. But until then, Russ, it's time to shut this mofo down.
Waterboarding and worse. Oh my God, I think this guy might actually win. Gene, shut it down.
All right, folks. We're going to go for the evening, but check us out next week. Until then, have a safe and pleasant evening.
Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.behindenemylinesradio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. Part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. A rock radio production. Copyright 2015. Back in 7 days. Out.